Welcome in to the week 13. Is that right? 13 NFL podcast with your host, the real underscore G Warner, joined by at A underscore Snicker. As we are licking our wounds a little bit, as we've now dropped to 500 on the season with an 0-2 best bet week. A underscore Snicker had the Rams +1 first half. That was brutal. I don't even remember the loss that I took, but hopefully it wasn't as bad as a 3-3 game at halftime going over. That was the Dallas Cowboys,
Oh yeah.
Washington Commanders. I had the under in the Vikings and the Bears. I think it all really, I mean, you were with me on it. I think it was close, uh,
Yep.
maybe sneaking a way through until a punt returner decided to yell poison, 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 point at a ball that was going to hit the ground to get his players out of the way and didn't get himself out of the way. Hit
Yep.
off the leg. Vikings convert that for the over touchdown, and then hilarity ensues with a ton of comebacks from Caleb Williams, which I don't think anyone expected to see. But the Bears, of course, don't win games, even though they had the ball, tied the game up, and got the ball first in overtime. But that's neither here nor there. On this episode, instead of our normal six-pack of games, we go through the standalone games. We have so many this week from Thanksgiving
Yep.
and the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. If that's even allowed to be said in this world. At Andrews for Snicker, with that long of an intro, how are you on this holiday week?
Oh, this is the best football week. It's rivalry week. It's really the start of, you're getting your college basketball in too. We got so many things.
I have no time for anything.
We
I've had more money changing hands in directions that it shouldn't be and should be, and all of things around. Maui last night was absolutely incredible. Multiple 20-point or 18-point loss leads were lost, and teams didn't even advance the next round. Just incredible. But this is the NFL podcast on the Bet and Pitch Podcast Network. You can follow us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, plus at the real underscore G Warner will work for YouTube and for Instagram. Um, but yeah, crazy week, especially with family stuff that's supposed to be happening as well. We're recording this in our normal time slot a little bit later. My bad for getting it started a little late. But we're going to, instead of doing the standalones by themselves, there's so many, I think we're just going to ping pong through them and then see whatever we can get to on the rest of the NFL slate before we get to best bets coming end of show as we're breaking off the slide. But really, all we're trying to do is stay around 500 so that we can go on our playoff tear like we did last season,
Yep.
crush the end of the year. And we're planning to do that same thing again. Though I feel like I've seen the NFL pretty well this year, and I'm disappointed with my performance so far because I feel like I deserved better. With that said, we'll start on Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, and we'll start in the early window, which is the Bears a 10-point underdog on the road at Detroit. Totals 48.5 in this matchup. What do you have on this one, A underscore Snicker?
Well, yeah, you can't fade the Lions anymore. That's just part of the rule. I don't make up the rules. I just watch the results. And so again, you could look at this and say, okay, David Montgomery, dicey to play. Amon-Ra St. Brown, um, definitely not at 100%. I would say 50% if he's going to play, but he's a tough dude. I would assume he's going to play. Um, I at some
Named
point
after the sun god, so he should be
he's
tough,
the
right?
sun god. I
Right.
mean, for what else would you expect?
Correct.
But like at some point, these defensive injuries, everything has to catch up to him at some point, right? But Chicago's truly they've rallied or played better since the firing of Waldron 2 weeks ago. And, they had the kumbaya and the whole cliche narrative of, it's on us, the ownership, Caleb Williams taking more responsibility, those kinds of things. I mean, he had some really great throws, but he also still had some perplexing decisions with his footwork. And um, yeah, this game, you have to be careful this week just because everything feels really public and everyone's going to be hanging around wanting to bet. We're going to like every single app is advertising same game parlays, like in flashing lights, just like wanting people to do every single game as a same game parlay. Like it's just a tough week. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fade the Lions, but also I'm not going to be um, running to a Lions ticket with on a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would caution everyone with the beautiful 10-point teas because this feels really, really apropos to get the Lions to pick them. And then you got to
Mm,
find two other games to go with it. Certainly, this one does not seem to be the one that would jeopardize you, but you got to. The problem with teas is you pay about the same juice to win one bet to win three. And yes, the numbers might be better, but a lot of times the NFL you're just picking winners. So you might, if you like the Lions and want to tease them down to pick them, you might just want to play -10 and see if you can get another apparition of the Caleb Williams we've seen. I think his body language has improved ever
yep.
since the offensive coordinator change, or maybe once everyone realized he was a huge crybaby, though I don't think that changed because that's what he was at USC, yet still got drafted #1 overall, expected to get, speaking of ownership, some ownership in the team that was drafting him. LOL at that one. Don't think they're going to have CW on the arm sleeve, the Chicago Bears anytime soon. But to me, I think the Lions are too good. I don't really know why they're so dominant, but they are. It must be in the trenches, which is hard to see because there's not a
Yep.
lot of fantasy players on offensive lines. But I think total here is interesting to me to play under. But at this point, like Caleb Williams has I guess proven he can score. That comeback against a really good Vikings defense was wild. Certainly aided by some mistakes from Minnesota. I just don't know that there's much here for me in that early one.
Hmm.
So I can certainly see this number climbing with a lot of people betting the Lions because they cover win every week. Moving next to the everyone eating Thanksgiving dinner portion of your Thursday. The New York Giants, a 3.5 point underdog on the road at the Dallas Cowboys, totals 37 in this one. At A_Snicker will be in the hood up there, maybe in Cowboy Stadium for Thursday.
No, I don't think they're giving away those tickets, is what I heard. You could like you.
Perfect time to go sit 2 rows from the top and watch the game on the Jumbotron
I,
while your
I was
family hates.
joking with a friend. If Creed were the halftime performer, I would maybe convinced to go do that. But
Maybe you could take your golf cart over because that was the big
that
topic
was a lot
tonight
of the
in the
talk
group
today
chat.
about golf carts. It'd be a pretty far drive from Rockwall, but we may be able to work that out. Um, we were talking. We've been talking about this game for like a week and a half. Look ahead line was 2.5. And then what I really, really wanted to happen was the Giants to get smoked and the Cowboys. I didn't care if they won. I just wanted them to play well. And look at that. They
Got
get a
it.
win.
You got it. It's exactly what you wanted.
And then earlier on Tuesday, it's at 4. Someone's already taken another nibble at the Giants. It's now down to 3.5. Um, I guess the main thing to watch is we're 2 days away. Tommy DeVito is not totally healthy. Drew Lock had a quote. They asked him like, "How many first team reps did you take?" And he was like, "More than zero," was his response, which is a
Nice.
completely Drew Lock type of response.
How much did the Giants
Um,
want to win this game? Probably same answer.
there you go. So my feelings on the Cowboys are long documented. Nothing's really changed there. Um, we get 2 extra points that are missed. Somehow the Washington offense has Cliff Kingsbury'd itself and become inefficient. So yeah, that's me taking the Giants on Thursday.
Well, okay. So Tommy
That's
Cutler
my lean. I'll say that's my lean. That
Tommy
would be my lean.
Cutlets, 3.5 point underdog. Doesn't feel like a lot, but then you look at who's laying those points to him, and it's Cooper Rush,
Yeah.
and because Trey Lance is never going to play, it seems, which
Yeah.
is literally banana land insane. But Jerry's trying to win a Super Bowl because he knows he could die tomorrow, so he's not throwing in the towel or trying to prepare for next year. Totals at 37. That number has crept down from 39 look aheads to 37.5, now down through all the way to 37. To me, it feels like 40 is a key number in the NFL. It's always kind of been that way, though in the past, I feel like it was 44. So we're essentially seeing the NFL market just betting unders every week, and they seem to, every game goes over. I don't know how this keeps happening, but literally from 3-3 in the first half with a bunch of mistakes and horrible special teams, all sort of stuff, to see even 20-17 with a kickoff with 3 or so minutes left, and then have the crazy ending with a missed extra point at the end that would have just made an overtime game, which would have, I mean, it was already way over at that point anyway.
Yeah.
I don't see like the Giants somehow had a miraculous under, speaking of, from an over in the first half with Baker Mayfield getting a rushing touchdown on a scramble with 12 seconds
Mhm.
left to hit the over in the first half. It's one of the few, I guess, first half overs that goes under, but all these NFL total numbers are really close to the numbers, it seems, or at
Yeah.
least there's something big that happens to swing, usually to the over end of a game. But I think I'm looking at the Giants like you are. I think I like under 37 in this matchup, under first half. I usually split both so that I only cry once. Or actually, I guess I could cry both technically, but usually if I lose one, I'm less teary on the second dying as well.
Hmm.
And that's probably more than we need to say, but I do think the Cowboys is this favorite, really great position after a win at Washington to play and lay a complete egg on Thanksgiving at home where they've really struggled this year, which doesn't make sense because they've been so dominant in years past. Defense gotten a little bit
Yep.
healthier with Ron Bland coming back and with Micah Parsons, et cetera, et cetera. I think the real question though is can you back the Giants with their quarterback situation? I think you want Drew Lock, excuse
Yeah.
me. You want his
You
luck as
do.
well. But it seems like DeVito is starting, and unless he's unable to go.
Yeah. I mean, they still seem adamant about that. I do think like Drew Lock, in terms of scheme or preparation, it's not going to be much different. Um, I think he's kind of prepared for it in this way. I obviously know that he was irritated by getting passed over to start last week and had some comments in the media about it. But yeah, Dable is still adamant that it's DeVito going to be starting, so I'm not sure the whole breakdown there. But yeah, it was yeah, we should probably move on. Let's just we've
Last thing I'll say is they asked Jalen Neighbors or whatever his first name is, Neighbors,
Malik, yeah.
Malik, thank you, about his. There's so many Jalen's out there now. I guess at this point, I'm just going to guess default Jalen, and I'll probably be right 75% of the time. But they asked him about why he didn't get any targets in the first half, and he said, "Ask Coach Dabes." So I think we're going to see a little bit of activity for Neighbors early and often in this matchup. Which, if I
He's
want to
gonna
look
get I could see him going like doing like a Randy Moss. You remember the Randy Moss Thanksgiving game?
when he mooned the crowd and Joe Buck was literally so mad about it, he talked about it for 3 quarters.
No, that was the Packers playoff game. This was like he went off for like 200 something yards against the Cowboys, all because Jerry Jones didn't draft him. Anyways,
Feed the beast.
well,
Feed the beast. All right,
Neighbors are going to get a lot of touches.
we'll move to the
Yes.
next standalone game because there's 15 still left to go. The Miami Dolphins, a 3-point underdog on the road at Green Bay with all the juice right now, but I think that's kind of expected. And we've seen some movement here. Total's 47 in this matchup, but look headline at Miami 3.5 point underdogs, and somehow that line has gone down with the Packers
Mhm.
smoking the San Francisco 49ers on everyone's national televised broadcast. Um, Miami did dominate the New England Patriots, but they're trying for a top five pick and have a complete zero as head coach that Robert Kraft handpicked on a trip to Tel Aviv. What do we think about the Packers only being 3-point favorites? Like, this has got to be everyone and their mother, who probably doesn't even bet until this Thanksgiving until she sees the Packers as only a 3-point favorite at home. To the lowly, unable to play outside of Miami when the weather's a little bit chilly. Oh my God, it's
I
too
know.
cold to.
Yeah. So I think the low in Green Bay is going to be 19 degrees on Thursday. So I'm sure we're going to get that
Miami built for
storyline.
that. Tuscaloosa and Honolulu or whatever in Hawaii. Miami
We're going
certainly
to get
not.
that storyline a couple times. Yeah, I mean the Dolphins have been playing well, but they haven't really beat who they've beaten, and they've beaten emphatically. You got to give them credit for that. It's not like it's been a close, but they've been playing. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Patriots, as you brought up. There's another scrub team that they beat to start.
They did beat the Rams
No,
away
it
from
was the Rams. You're right. It was the Rams. I like
they
the Rams.
and that was a really quiet offensive game for the Rams, which maybe is a little bit we deserve to give some or the Dolphins defense deserve some credit. They played the
Yeah,
Bills really tight. Though I think a Josh Allen deflected interception at the 1 yard line really swung how that game went.
true.
But yeah, the Dolphins, as you said, have been taking care of business, beating bad teams the last 2 weeks. Does that make them more, or do you think that makes them overvalued when I was making a fortune just betting against the Dolphins every week?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
stopped
what
doing
is your gut? What are you feeling? Feel like you should be betting against the Dolphins this week in this situation?
I like the Dolphins more. I still don't think that Tyreek Hill is like the same guy anymore. Waddle is a
No.
huge Jalen Waddle. See Jalen?
Yes.
There
Yeah,
we
you're
go.
good,
See,
man.
I'm telling you, 75%. If you don't know, just guess Jalen. I'm gonna name my kid Jalen, and then his next kid Jalen. I don't know when I'm gonna have a kid. It's probably gonna be a while. Hopefully, it still works.
Wow.
But
We're
um,
taking this on a different
yeah,
turn.
yeah. Sorry. Hopefully, no one and close to me is actually listening to this podcast. But all of you gamblers out there, if you want to bet on my next child, just be ready that you're not going to catch that ticket for a long time, unless it's a mistake, which is probably worse.
I was
Um,
about to say, yeah, I would go under just on the risk.
Well, you're you're
Um,
you're giving me a lot more respect on the app dating than I think I deserve. But back to the topic at hand and why we do a podcast every Tuesday night, the NFL. I don't know how I can't back the Dolphins only getting 3 points here. I'll be waiting to see this hit 3.5. But I don't think the Dolphins are a number that I want. I mean, I'm not a real believer in the cold weather makes Tua unable to play,
oh
but
yeah.
he
No.
does seem to have. I mean, the ice rink they played against the Chiefs just doesn't fit their offense and like
Mhm.
grip and fast plays and fast twitch and moving all over the place with motion. It didn't work when you're literally skating
Yeah.
with cleats on. I don't think it's gonna be the same scenario in Green Bay, but not a great spot for Miami, of course.
Yeah.
To try
No
to figure out.
precipitation in the forecast. It's just
I,
gonna be cold.
I mean, cold. Uh, like, does that make the ball harder for the quick passing that Tua does? Because
No,
he
I don't. I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like their offense is pretty much just like it's actually feels like a very Steve Sarkisian type offense, and I'm saying that because we watch Texas football every week, but it feels very much just misdirection and screens, and they've kind of changed it. It's not just like you said, it's not really a Tyreek Hill hunting the deep ball type offense right now.
I just feel like they don't use him enough. Maybe he's a great
Definitely don't.
decoy, but and I think he probably feels that way too. Though he's certainly a lot more mature now. At least he's not choking pregnant girlfriends.
Oh gosh.
I do think that I think everyone's going to be in the Packers here. I don't think that's a surprise.
Yeah.
I think if you have a Dolphins ticket, you're certainly on the sharper side.
Yeah.
Though it does feel like this might be one of those where you might pay for trying to be with the sharps, quote unquote, because I'm not really sure
Yep.
that pays off all the time. I'd rather be on that side than the everyone and their mother who decided to bet on Thanksgiving side. But at this point, it's certainly not enough for me to back the Dolphins. I don't know what that number would be. Move to Friday, Black
Well, I
Friday.
was gonna
Okay,
one more thing.
go
I
ahead.
mean, these are the big games. So Robert Salah is now like an analyst with the Packers. Um, he knows what kind of offense Mike McDaniel's going to do.
Mm.
I'm not saying like it's just interesting to watch down the stretch here. You've had like Robert Salah comes to the Packers, then they play against San Francisco. That's his defense that they're running, and he knows that offense. And now Mike McDaniel, same offensive tree. So I mean, it's not going to be a surprise. Green Bay's not going to be surprised by anything that they see here.
All right. So, just for argument's sake, the Jets have not played the Dolphins this year. They lost 30 to nothing and 34-13 last year. You could argue with no quarterback, certainly no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Year before that, they won 40 to 17 at home against the Dolphins on October 9th, 2022. But then lost to Miami last game of the year, 11 to 6. Oh my God. What a beauty that was. I don't even
I
want
mean,
to
it
guess.
seems like he might know what's going on there.
I mean, yeah, so hard to say looking at box scores from a long time ago, but
Sure, you're right.
that
Yes.
is something that I feel like. I mean, if I was in the playoffs, I would just be hiring fired coaches every left and right because I mean,
Yeah.
these NFL franchises have enough budget just from selling Miller Lite on Sundays. So,
Oh, yeah.
um, or cores, I guess, depending what part of the country you're in. Unless you have more to do, let's go
No,
to
that's
big
good.
rivalry game. Especially because the Raiders love to talk noise about the Chiefs, and it hasn't worked very well for them. Though they did
They
somehow.
won. They won in this game last year, though, right? Or was that Christmas where they?
That was I think the Christmas holiday season.
Okay.
But holiday season might as well put the Raiders as 12-point underdogs on the road at Kansas City. Total's 42 and a half in this one. I was against the Raiders on Sunday. That was actually what felt like a dominant game from the Broncos that literally ended at the 1 yard line or half-yard line. A near
Yeah.
touchdown for the Raiders to cover the spread when they should have kicked the field goal to try an onside kick. But Antonio Pierce is just either trying to cover spreads or is as stupid as everyone thought he was, and really
No,
should.
he's trying to cover spreads. Let's.
I mean, I love him for it, though. I did not love him on Sunday. I was like, how are they
Yeah,
not kicking like
you're gripping on
over,
Sunday.
over and over and over again? How are they not kicking? But Against Chiefs, I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's a pretty fair guess that the Chiefs will not overlook this game after getting embarrassed, though it did kind of set the Chiefs up for a Super Bowl run last year. Raiders 12-point underdogs, totals 42 and a half in this one. You already have a bet in on the Raiders, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'm just taking all all these like perceived sharp sides. That's it. That's just the way to do it.
Trying to have a nice
Um,
holiday, watching
yeah,
the worst
it's
teams in
great.
football and being like, oh, when your family member says, oh, who are rooting for this one? And you say the Raiders, you're like, do you really only pick the worst teams possible? Like
Exactly.
that's what gambling is.
Okay, so I thought if we go back to like the Chiefs Panthers game from a couple days ago, like I thought the Panthers were really pretty successful moving the ball, and that's concerning to me. Um, I think everyone's really loved what Kansas City's done on defense, and they haven't lost their step. Like they've got a brilliant offense or defensive mind in Steve Spagnuolo and Chris Jones and all those guys. I think the secondary, I think the back end, you've had some injuries there. You had lost some pieces in the offseason. I am interested to see like what this Chiefs defense looks like as we get into the crucial times of the year. But we're talking about who's it going to be? Is it going to be Desmond Ritter as the starting quarterback for
I
Las
mean,
Vegas?
yeah. So unless Aiden or Jalen McConnell comes back,
Yep.
I think I mean, Minshew's out for the year with a broken collarbone.
Yep.
Desmond Ritter came in right away and with the drive to try to cover the spread or tie the game, fumbles right away, sack fumble, and then literally drives all the way down the field and almost literally ruins my Sunday more than I don't know the rest of the Sunday getting ruined. Uh,
Yeah.
but whew, I mean, we've seen
I
the Desmond
mean,
Ritter show, and it is not a pretty one. And I would have turned it
no.
off if it was possible, but I do try to watch it every NFL game.
This is probably one of those you take the under and then you go spend some time with your family and watch the replay. You know what I mean?
I think you don't even. I think you just literally okay. Game starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time on
Yeah.
Friday. Let's check our scores at 7 o'clock and see
That's
what the heck happened.
it's the best one. Just take the under 42 and a half and then turn your phone like put your phone away and go do something better with your life for 3 hours.
So how the under 42 and a half loses? The Chiefs defense, which I own in fantasy and felt like in one of my leagues, I was like, they were available on a waiver wire. I took them before they played San Francisco, being like, nobody wants them this week. And I'm gonna like put my neck out there and just if they play well this week, fine. If they get
Yeah.
torched, whatever, I'll have them for the playoff run, and that's what I
Yeah.
want. It has not been going very well lately. I don't think
Yeah,
Desmond
it's
Ritter
bad
is the
timing.
guy. What?
Bad timing. Like they had such a great run and then yeah,
I
sorry.
mean, but like the Panthers are scoring on him a ton. Like,
I
I mean,
know.
it it wasn't great against the Bills, but that was kind of expected. And honestly, with a Super Bowl winning schedule, it's never going to be easy. But it's kind of lined up pretty well. And I was like, it's a 16 team league. I don't want to get too deep into the fantasy because no one cares. But like, there's not a lot of great defenses out there to put it that way. And so I was like, this is going really well. But they have not excelled in easy matchups. I think Desmond Ritter might be the easiest. Though you
Yeah.
certainly could have said that about the Carolina Panthers just last week, but they were hanging on for dear life. They can't cover big spreads. They haven't done it in forever, literally in years, it feels like. So
No.
I can't help but like the Raiders. I just don't know how anyone is putting money on the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, when they've just bought 15 TVs that they don't even use. Like how you can put some money on Desmond Ritter to try to get your money back from all the money you spent at Samsung. I think total of under 42 and a half gets ruined by Desmond Ritter turnovers,
Yeah.
or maybe he takes because I feel like the ideal under for me is trying to find quarterbacks who won't turn it over, but just can't seem to score touchdowns. Problem is, there are weird things that happen in these games, and 42 and a half, above 40 is key to me. But you are fading Patrick Mahomes, who can score 43 points himself, it seems. So that's a big concern. I don't think we've seen it in a while and probably won't see it. But we'll move now to Sunday, and we'll go to the Sunday night football game, and then we'll go to Monday night, and then we'll see whatever we can sprinkle in here for the last few minutes of our show before we get to our best bets.
Man, what
San
a great Sunday night game.
Francisco 49ers, with everything on the line, their season on the line here, 7-point underdogs on the road at Buffalo, totals 44 and a half. And I feel like there's some interest in the money and kind of where this line has moved. So
Yeah.
Niners were 3.5 point underdogs, which is exactly what I made. 3.5 at 47. That was 3.5 total 47. Initially came out Bet Online. If you're not a member at Bet Online or SportsBetting.ag, go join. There are links in podcast descriptions, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on YouTube. Will get you free money to go sign up, make a first time deposit. Go do that. I saw the total drop to 46, and then once Purdy was potentially questionable and then ruled out, that line came down. It's basically reemerged as the Niners a 7 point underdog. Totals all the way down to 44.5 now. Um, I mean, the Niners, especially with Trent Williams injuries too, Christian McCaffrey off his worst game of his short season. Deebo Samuel also looking pretty average. I don't think that was just a coincidence with a backup quarterback coming in. But the Bills also, let's not forget, they did just somehow cover against the Chiefs despite being in the position to win by 2 points and cover all the spreads, but still win the money lines, which I think would have been a really nice outcome for Vegas casinos.
Yeah.
With that said, they don't control everything, just our entire lives. What do you think about the Niners? I mean, get a full touchdown of insurance. Are you taking that at Orchard Park?
Nope. You want to just move on?
I mean,
Um,
this game is interesting because the
no, it
Niners
is. No, it definitely
are
is.
still one of the biggest favorites to win the Super Bowl, probably based on the risk that all these sports books have on them. But
Yeah, for
basically
sure.
giving these away at higher spreads because the Niners aren't making the playoffs. It looks like unless they win the
Oh, I
division.
mean, they're gonna have to win the division to get there. And I think like everyone's just this number obviously moved once Brock Purdy is out, and then you're just not sure what if he's gonna be back. And um, but if he's not playing, and I think that there's a pretty strong chance he's not going to play again. Um, this is going towards like 10, don't you think? Like the roster, or I guess the players that had such a big impact on the Super Bowl run and like what we've seen from really, I would call it a dynasty for San Francisco, like they're all hurt or they're all recovering or they're all just getting their legs underneath them. Um, Kittle's got the lingering issues. McCaffrey, we know, is still working his way back. He doesn't look like he's got the same burst as he did all of last year as of right now. Um, and if you're going to try Brandon Allen out there, it's not. I mean, an extra week of practice isn't going to make it any better. So, like I'm saying, again, we've talked about betting against the 49ers. This situation is a lot different because now we're talking about them as a touchdown underdog. We didn't think we'd be seeing that this year. Um, but I still think like you're going to get value. It's worth like a flyer or worth, a popcorn in a movie type bet. If this drops under 7, just taking Buffalo early in the week at 6.5 and then seeing where this thing goes and seeing where the news takes you. Because if Purdy's out again, it's going to 10. And if he's playing, he's certainly not better than 60% healthy on the road at Buffalo. Like, I'll take my chances under touchdown.
Yeah, I think at the current 7, I think the same theory still applies. I think
Yep.
you play the 7, and if it climbs to 10, you've made a good bet and you ride it out. If it drops because Purdy's in there, you're getting a compromised quarterback who's in because they're so desperate and they just can't lose a game anymore. Uh,
Yep.
I think the scheme that Shanahan is so well known for and has basically brought him to multiple Super Bowl appearances. Didn't really look great against a Green Bay team that was pretty, I think a good record, gaudy record that hasn't really been supported yet by their play. Pretty similar number here, though the Bills, I mean, have the most dynamic player, I think, in NFL right now. So, or in the NFL, the National Football League.
They're
So,
going to let him run. Yeah,
and honestly, I think the Bills, the best part of the Bills, besides Josh Allen, I think, is their ability to pressure the quarterback. So,
for sure.
that's going to be like that's going to work really well against no matter which quarterback's in there. I think re-injury risk is a big deal for Brock Purdy as well. And we'll move to Monday Night Football, and then we'll see if we get some more time to sneak in a couple other games on Sunday, or we'll just get the best bets, depending on how much _Snicker wants to go into the Cleveland Browns visiting the Denver Broncos. So, Browns 5.5 point underdogs, totals 42 in this matchup. Spread has dropped a full point because the Browns played really well on Thursday, or really came from behind late to win after leading the Steelers for most of the game. Somehow won a snow globe. Jameis Winston with 2 turnovers at least, but still found a way to get a W against a Steelers team that has no offense, but has an awesome record. So I feel like those are one of those we might want to look to play against in the playoffs if you can find some team that can block the Steelers' defensive line or just maybe score some points because I don't think the Steelers could do that. With that said, this is the Cleveland Browns Denver Broncos section of this podcast. Broncos look good, I thought, but we're still in a game at Las Vegas. Now they're at home, and Cleveland comes in, and they're not even getting a touchdown. So there seems to be some respect for Cleveland here, especially with the number dropping, and certainly extra prep will help. Totals at 42. What do you think about this one?
Well, hey, I mean, Bo Nix is maybe capable of functioning in the NFL. Um, Again, like I know you've had some pretty good success with Denver, so maybe I should look to you for this one because I don't really have a true opinion. I would again look under in this game. Um, but you've had some pretty good success with Denver the last couple weeks. So what do you think?
That's true. Blowout win at home against the Falcons and a fortunate cover, but a game that I felt like they were in control for a lot of, though they trailed through some of it. To me, the Bo Nix stuff, I'm still not a believer. I think there's a lot of easy throws that he
Yeah.
makes. They're like swing passes, or I mean, I can't really explain how open the receivers were against the Raiders. I mean, they do sit back in coverage and let you kind of do whatever you want in front of them. Another ridiculous strategy, but their coaching staff will change very soon. So we only have a few more weeks to take advantage of those Raiders, though we're potentially looking to back them and under against the Chiefs. Makes me want to vomit. Um, but I think Bo Nix has a safety security blanket with Cortland Sutton. I think that's a
Yeah.
huge. He's awesome and made a bunch of big catches, contested balls that really weren't like clear catches, except for a really great receiver that was making and helping his quarterback out. That's what you need. Broncos defense is great. I think the big question is what do we get from Jameis here? Is he going to turn the ball over a lot? Because that's where the big problems come in. Pick sixes is where unders go to die. Those big plays, ultimately turnovers, especially, but really the big chunk touchdown plays are the worst ones. It feels like this total probably climbs on Monday Night Football, especially after a miraculous over this past Monday, last night, with the Ravens somehow going over. Still so mad about the officials, but like I don't, yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
There's only a few minutes left in this podcast, and I don't want to use up the
We don't
remaining
have time.
time to talk about officiating and Spanish La Liga refs. You're next on my list, but I think the number here, 42, feels kind of high. I got to say, because I don't know what offense we're talking about. Though honestly, Cleveland on Thursday night had no business going over and did as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, like every game that seems to be a dead under seems to still finish over. It's pretty much ended my interest in playing a lot of unders, though I definitely did a bunch this past weekend and split a few that looked like guaranteed winners and then got blown out in a couple as well. Um, I I don't know what to say about Jameis. I feel like the spread's too low for me to want to get involved with him. Though I do feel like the Broncos look like a good defense that I think as an underdog are interesting, or as a favorite against a team that has no pulse and it isn't trying and is just focused on next season like the Raiders are. The Browns don't. I feel like Stefanski's good, and I think I don't know if he's going to stick around, but I feel like that makes it scary for me to want to play Denver. Though I feel like the price is right for that if you're interested in the Broncos and playing against Cleveland.
Yeah. No, I think Stefanski's he's set. He's there. I mean, he's had to deal with some pretty ridiculous quarterback situations the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I always put it like the way of if a coach is like let go, how many teams are going to be lining up at his door to hire him? And I'd say a third of the league would be interested in him being their head coach. Yeah, I don't really have again, I would look under. That'd be my lean. I don't really have a strong inclination just because Jameis is the wild card. He's guaranteed, not guaranteed, but he's gonna have some turnovers in him, and that's always terrifying for an under. So, but
All
yes, I
right.
agree with you that Bo Nix has played well, but it's within a system. It's with easy throws, and I do think Cleveland could probably snuff that out.
All right. We'll get through one game on our list.
Yeah, let's do it. What we got? Because I just want to talk about the Ravens Eagles.
That's where I figured you go. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just do. I'll just do a quick
Okay.
takeaway, I guess.
Ravens 3-point favorites, total 51.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if any team's going to be able to stop the Ravens offense unless you're Pittsburgh. Like, um, but I am really excited to see Lamar Jackson and to see, I mean, what he can do against a defense that has truly bought in. Like I thought Bryce Huff being out on the defensive line was going to make a difference. It does not matter. Philadelphia's got the pass rush, and man, that secondary super impressive. That was part of my handicap with the Rams, and they I mean they shut me up. They shut me down. So I'm really excited for that matchup. I still would give the edge to the Ravens. At 3, you're basically paying a pick, with home field advantage. That's pretty tough. My numbers don't get me there, but I don't know. What about you?
I like the Eagles.
Okay.
I think the Ravens. I just wish I trusted the Eagles passing game. I don't.
Yeah.
Ravens literally commit pass interference every single play. They're running the Rick Pitino. They're not going to call everything because the game would take 10 hours.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, they are like so bad defensively in the secondary. And I think you're really walking on eggshells. Laying 3 points is not a lot against a really good Eagles team. I think a 3 point loss is very possible for Philly. You get out of there, save your money, get your free movie as A_Snicker coined. But I do think I don't know how you play an under with any Ravens
Mm-mm.
offense, plus with their secondary the way it is in shambles. As we run to the end of our show, stick with us. We'll be recording every Tuesday night until we can, or until we forget to, when we get too old. But we're 12-12 so far this season after a really good start to the year. So we've been a little bit cold as of late, but still 24-18 our last 42. So we've been making you money for a while, but we're trying to keep that going. Where are you going for your best bet on this episode, A_Snicker?
I'm going to give there's going to be a holiday bonus, but we're going to go
Ooh,
fast. I know we're running out of time here.
yeah.
I don't want to give out a best bet for a Thursday game because that's not a lot of runtime. But I will, if you listened, you're going to get an extra bet.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the Giants plus 3.5 on Thursday. For the official best bet, we're going to go over in Jacksonville. So go over 43 with the Houston Texans. I know you're going to dispute that one. I'm going to ride that wave. We're going to go over 43 with the Texans and Jags.
All right, I will not dispute it. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Jaguars, but maybe they don't either.
Don't worry
Over
about it.
43, A_Snicker, Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. For my best bet, even though they're off a bye, I'm taking Cincinnati Bengals, a 2.5 point favorite to the off a bye Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Pittsburgh is one of those teams that has a gaudy record that I'm not sure they deserve. I don't think they can compete in a high scoring game. Maybe the Steelers will be good enough to keep this low scoring away from home when the Bengals are backs up against the wall, have to pretty much win out to make the playoffs. I think Joe Burrow will find a way to score some points. I don't think Russell Wilson can compete there. And I think at 2.5, it's juice at the moment. Don't mind it at 3 either. But I think the Bengals will score plenty of points here, and I don't think the Steelers can't keep up. And I think that'll be a good little guinea pig to how the Steelers will look in the playoffs and down the stretch of this NFL football season. So if you're not following us on Instagram at the real_G Warner on Twitter, and also on YouTube at A_Snicker on Twitter for his Twitter profile, and then of course go join, follow, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We're called Betting the Pitch. You'll find the NFL podcast, college football stuff will be elsewhere, but soccer's on there. And we'll see you next week. Have a great holiday and enjoy these winners.